Time for the J3C Midweek Music News. I'm John. Give me 3 minutes. I'll give you my 3 cents. Consider this the audio companion to my weekly Ready to Rock playlist, which you'll find online at johns3cents.wordpress.com. Rock and active rock charts are in for the week. The Media Base active rock chart has Korn at number 1, meaning the first song in the countdown, Worth a Damn, is once again Avenged Sevenfold's Hail to the King, followed by last week's number 1 from 3 Days Grace, Misery Loves My Company. High debut for the week is at number 39, Shepherd of Fire, from Avenged Sevenfold. On the mainstream rock chart, it's week number 10 at number 1 for A7X, still followed by Korn and 3 Days Grace, but with the better song of the pair now at number 2. Highest debut this week is, yep, you guessed it, Avenged Sevenfold, Shepherd of Fire, with the Winery Dogs getting in at number 46 with a second track from their debut album, one called Desire. Now, if you want to hear the best of today's hard rock and heavy metal, check out my weekly playlist on Spotify or YouTube. Basically, those are the rock and active rock radio chart stuff, minus the steaming piles of crap, like Korn, Alice in Chains, the new Nine Inch Nails, garbage. And it's replaced with much better stuff that most stations don't have enough sense or enough balls to play. The links are way too long for me to read, so just hit the blog at johns3cents.wordpress.com and you'll have easy access to my Spotify Top 40 for the week, as well as my massive YouTube playlist featuring nearly 200 songs. Among the new entries on the YouTube this week are the latest single from I Empire, Canadian newcomers Flash Lightning, and the first single from the forthcoming Lineham EP, called Halfway to Hell. Also added this week is, yes, you guessed it, folks, Shepherd of Fire by Avenged Sevenfold. I guess it's become kind of trendy to bash A7X, another example, in my opinion, of rock trying to eat its own for some reason. My own personal take on the new album Hail to the King is that it's a classic example of being good but not great, and that's its biggest sin. It's a letdown after 2010's epic Nightmare. That album was perhaps a once-in-a-band's-lifetime performance, and while the latest album falls several steps short of that mark, it's still better than 90% of what's being passed off as hard rock or metal today. There are vocals that can be heard without cringing, there's considerable musical ability, and it actually reaches enough people to be relevant without being forced to resort to ripping off dance music, or even worse, trying to bring back the dismal days of grunge. So, as far as I'm concerned, the death bat is just fine. Among the musical odds and ends this week, word that South Florida rockers Black Tide will release a new EP next week. The first single, Not Afraid, isn't bad and was added to the YouTube playlist this week, but they still haven't topped songs like Shockwave and Warrior of Time from 5 years ago. There's great news from former D.O. and current Def Leppard Axeman Vivian Campbell. He says his Hodgkin's lymphoma is now officially in remission after several months of chemo. And more good news. That benefit in Alabama I told you about last time, it was highlighted by the return to stage of the man himself, Jay Hinkle. Now, how cool is that? I'm John, and that's my musical 3 cents.